With tariffs on the minds of everyone in agriculture, we set out to answer the question of who pays the retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agricultural exports. CoBank's Knowledge Exchange economists analyzed 11 U.S. agriculture commodities representing a cross-section of ag exports. In all but 2 cases, the U.S., not the importing countries or its consumers, paid much of the cost of these tariffs. Bargaining power, or lack thereof, determines who pays the tariff and how much. Factors affecting bargaining power differs by product, but ranges from strength of foreign consumer demand for U.S. products to storability to geographic proximity. Macroeconomic factors affecting bargaining power include strength of the U.S. dollar and transportation rates. Our level of bargaining power, though, depends on the commodity. To illustrate, we'll discuss 4 of our commodity export examples across U.S. agriculture: soybeans to China, cheese to Mexico, wine to China, and pork to Mexico. For U.S. soybeans, China imposed a 25% tariff on the U.S., but shipments fell 98% in the 4th quarter. China virtually replaced U.S. soybeans with imports from South America, indicating stronger bargaining power for China over the U.S.
Global demand for cheese has been the bright spot in the dairy complex for the past 5 years. Consumer demand in Mexico has been particularly strong, but Mexican milk production has not kept up. In response, retailers and manufacturers have turned to the U.S. So when the Mexican government imposed retaliatory tariffs of 25% on U.S. cheese in 2018, export value continued to rise. What drove this? Consumer demand, as well as a geographic competitive advantage of the U.S. dairy industry over key players such as the EU and New Zealand. As the retaliatory tariffs have now been removed, we can expect Mexico to strengthen its position as the #1 destination for U.S. cheese.
The value of U.S. wine exports to China quadrupled in the past decade, but the picture may be changing. While the total year-over-year value of Chinese wine imports from all countries was down 22% in the 4th quarter of 2018, U.S. wine exports to China were down 57%, as the U.S. lost market share to Chile and Australia. And while China is a relatively small market for U.S. wine exports, the loss of market share is significant as it represents a key growth market in a time when global wine consumption growth is weakening.
In the animal protein sector, the retaliatory tariffs of the last couple of years have primarily targeted the most exported animal protein, pork. With more than a quarter of U.S. pork being exported around the world, tariffs from Mexico and China especially hurt hog prices and the bottom lines of U.S. hog producers. When Mexico levied a 20% tariff against U.S. pork in the summer of 2018, we found it was the U.S. hog producer who actually paid the tariff, not the Mexican importer or consumer. This dynamic reflects our reliance on the Mexican market. Nearly half of all hams produced in the U.S. go to Mexico. While Mexico lifted these tariffs this spring, we expect pork to continue to be the hardest hit protein industry when trade disputes bubble up in the future.
To learn more about who pays when tariffs hit U.S. agriculture, visit CoBank.com to read Knowledge Exchange's new report.